Hello and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another potluck wrap up. I don't know why I said it like that. I read a fuck ton in June. Don't even remember what month this is. I read a fuck ton in June and I had a really interesting mix of very, very good books, loads of 5 stars, and honestly I would have DNF'd if it weren't for reasons. And you know me, bloody love a DNF. There are a couple of books that I really want to talk to you about because I haven't had a proper rant about a book in a while, and these 2 books are completely rant worthy. So without further ado, solid noise. We've got timer at the ready. And I think I'm going to leave it up here so that you can see that. I don't know if you can see that, but if you can see that. Like I said, loads. So really excited to wrap up some books today. The first one I'm going to wrap up for you is also, I moved my shelves around, don't know if you noticed, is Punching the Air, which is a novel in verse by Ibi Zoboi and Professor Yusuf Salam. Now, I read this as part of a novel in verse vlog. It is about a young man who gets into a fight, kind of defending his hood after some white people call him the N-word, and then the fight escalates. He nearly kills someone and he ends up going to prison for it, even though he threw the first punch, he did not throw the last punch. And it very much talks about how the justice system in general is very prejudiced against black men, and how at no point was he really given the opportunity to defend himself, and how even once you're in prison you are then destroyed systematically and kind of broken down further, which is obviously very, very hard to do if you view yourself as innocent. And it was an incredibly powerful novel anyway, but I think the fact that it was novel in verse made it even more powerful. It got 5 stars because it made me cry. At no point do you feel like this character deserves the treatment that he's getting. Yes, he is very angry, but he is basically fucked over right at the start by someone who should have believed in him, who understood what a kind of artist he was, what a kind of man he was. It was a hard read. It was a really hard read, but it was just what I was looking for. It was a powerful novel in verse, and I would absolutely recommend it to everybody. It's so beautiful and so well done, and there are a few books coming out soon which are written by white people looking at black pain, and it gives me the ick. So I will be vocalizing about this book way more, probably to compensate the fact that I know those books are coming out. So if you've seen those books and you know what I'm talking about, get yourself this one instead. It is absolutely worth the money. I'll just leave that there, I think. Fits quite nicely. Right, next. Oh, next is Bridgerton, The Duke and I, which is the first in the Bridgerton series, and like, oh, okay, right, how do I explain? I didn't like it. I think that's obvious from my demeanour. I didn't like it. I really wanted to like the TV series. I love Jane Austen, I love a periodic drama, I love when they take periodic drama elements and then modernise it. I really liked the aesthetic of Bridgerton, I liked the actors in it, but the storyline, to me, was so convoluted and just kind of boring, and I was hoping that if I read the book, you know, which people have said is more problematic than the TV series, it would either give some kind of context to stuff, maybe I had missed something, or was it just the fact that it was pretty dresses and banter? Like, I don't know, and I really wanted to support both. Didn't like the book. The book got barely 3 stars. It was like 2.5. Like, it wasn't bad, I just didn't care about it. It was incredibly boring, the pacing was weird, the dialogue felt stunted, and I can see why those changes have been made for the TV series. Like I said, I really wanted to like the TV series. There is a particular scene where there are 4 women of colour as main characters on scene, and like, that's just amazing. And yet, I just didn't care about it enough. Like, every time I've gone to watch it, I've watched maybe 1.5 episodes, and I'm an intense human being. If I like something, I will watch all of it in one go. Oh shit. There is no other way for me to watch stuff. So when I'm pausing stuff halfway through an episode and then leaving it, it's not a good sign. And I did kind of do this as an audiobook over on Scribd because obviously Illumicrate are coming out with their very beautiful editions, and I would love to get my hands on those editions. But there's no point because I'm not going to read them. So I am leaving The Duke and I, the Bridgerton series, there. I will probably catch up on the TV series when season 3 comes out because I like the characters that they're going to be looking into. I liked what they did with Anthony in season 2, but the books are just not for me. I'm leaving that there. I'm glad I didn't pay for them. It feels more tense having the clock behind me, to be honest. which is probably not a good idea because continuity, I will have cut shit out, so, soz. Okay, next, oh my, okay, right. That's not excitement. Luna Book Club is a book club I host through both my Discord and my business, where I pick a book based on a genre prompt that my Discord have chosen, and this one was for a gothic retelling. That was the prompt, and this is Cinderella, but in Victorian Gothic. It's not Cinderella. The Cinderella element of this is so ham-fisted in that it made me want to weep. And oh my god, this book is so shit. If you're familiar with Dr. Faustus, you will know that Dr. Faustus, having learnt all he can about the earthly plane, decides he wants to learn about unearthly planes, summons a demon, gets loads of knowledge, becomes basically a rock star, fucks his life up, and then wonders why he sold his soul in the first place. And it is a moral story about how God is great and turning away from him, even though Faustus is given 100 opportunities not to fuck it up, still manages to sell his soul and become an arsehole. So, as a rundown, this is more of a Faustus retelling, except the author has completely missed the point that you shouldn't lean into demon stuff, right? Because this character is at no point given an opportunity to back out. Everything in her life forces her towards a demon that she doesn't want anything really to do with, and yet she keeps making wishes, and every time she makes a wish, people die, and she knows that, but she keeps doing it anyway. And this character, this fucking character, she couldn't decide if she was a waif or a, you know, one of those like women that's like, we're here for the army types, like, do you know what I mean? Like, she couldn't decide. She couldn't decide if she was, I'm a lady and I need to be rescued, or if she was going to burn the fucking house down. Like, she just didn't know who she was, and that was a real issue for me because I like to read character-driven books. So then you're like, okay, well, if it's not the main character, are there side characters that are interesting? No, you've got two sapphic characters where the main character clearly knows they're lesbians. She clearly knows they are lesbians for each other, never addresses it, basically says straight up that if she does address it, they'll either die, get arrested, or go to hell, so she's just not going to acknowledge it, even though what she's doing is literally summoning a demon. But alright, feels like hypocrisy? Let me know in the comments down below. And is that hypocrisy? It feels like hypocrisy. Anyway, so they get hardly any screen time. They have been like her besties from day dot, right up until she's forced to leave, and then apparently couldn't have anything less to do with her, couldn't give a shit. The love interest, oh my god. So there's this character called Charles. I don't know why authors always feel the need to take Prince Charming and make him a Charles, but I can only ever see Prince Charles. And he arrives to be this like powerful hero, and like arrives with his fiance, and she's devastated because even though she's been a servant her entire fucking life, she thinks she deserves to be a lady, and because she deserves to be a lady, she also deserves this man who is her friend, platonically. Like, there's no relationship there whatsoever. They're just kind of pals. There's no sexual chemistry whatsoever. He rocks up with a fiancé. The fiancé feels threatened by this maid for some unknown reason, other than she feels threatened for plot, I guess. Anyway, she then starts bullying Ella. Ella gets her own back and basically wishes this woman away, and the boy is just sad about it. And then he starts fucking her instead, and it's just like, right, I see what you were doing, I see what you were trying to do, and there's this whole like subplot about how his father is basically straight up raping the women in his house, and that's why they can't keep staff, and that's why there's only like 3 of them, and it's why she's like worked to the bone and everyone's really fucking horrible to her, and like all this sort of stuff. Trigger warning wise, that is all off page. It's just, there's like threat and sexual harassment as opposed to full on. Anyway, so that, but then, like, when his fiancée dies, apparently his balls leave with her, because at no point does he stand up to anyone. He gets her pregnant, because of course he fucking does, and then he's just like, oh, that's fine, we'll run away to Gretna Green, and then his dad's like, you won't though, and he's like, you're right, I won't though, and it's just like, what is wrong with you? Like, and just... And then the ending. Let me tell you about the ending. So you think, right, in Dr. Faustus, it's a big climactic thing where he's basically just walked into hell, and it's very dramatic, and it's very sad, and he's done some really horrible shit, and he's thinking about the horrible, and it's a moral lesson, right? No, this one, she throws herself into a hole, which was just like, why? Basically, like, the demon gives her an opportunity to run away. If she can get onto consecrated ground, then she's safe. But joke's on her, because even though she walked past the church earlier and saw that the ground was all dug up, when she gets there and the ground's all dug up, she doesn't understand, because there is no consecrated ground. It's just dirt. So she throws herself into a pit and is never seen again. what? Like, just the whole thing, I just didn't get it, and it was just, and it was boring. It was so boring. And like, I hate it. I hate it when I make a gothic recommendation, because that is my thing. You know I'm a gothic bitch, right? Like, you know that. And then this, and I don't know if it's just Victorian Gothic. Maybe Victorian Gothic isn't my thing anymore. Maybe the idea of the etiquette and stuff like that just isn't as good as like people being fucking horrible to each other. I don't know, but this was so boring, and the first chapter is 63 pages. This book's barely 400 pages long. Why is it 63 pages? What the fuck is going on there? And the thing that really got me here, The Furies. Greatest book ever written. Where's the other one? There's another one around here somewhere. Never mind. I've got 2 Katie Lowe books. She's an incredible author. She endorsed this shit. And I don't blame her for being a good person and writing a nice thing about a book. If she enjoyed it, great. I didn't. I thought it was terrible. And I'm really sad because I recommended this book to my book club, and now they have to read a book that's not good. So I don't know if you've noticed, it's not on my website anymore. The moment I finished this, I basically threw it across the room and I've taken it off my website. I don't sell books I think are shit. This is shit. I don't know how long I was talking for, but I have a sneaky suspicion it's over 10 minutes. So I will try and cut some of that out for you, but I also probably won't cut out very much. Next. Worthy Opponent and Beast by Katie Roberts. I did these as audiobooks. Have you ever listened to erotica as an audiobook? It's a weird sensation. Not only that, I was doing admin at the time, and I was just kind of working my way through, and I wasn't really concentrating on anything, and at the time I wasn't quite slumping, but I had just finished this shit, so I didn't really want to read anything. I didn't really want to have to concentrate on anything, so instead I just didn't, and I put this on, and they're a good time. They're a good time. I've not really got anything else to add. You'll have seen me talk about Desperate Measures, and you'll know that it is basically consensual non-consent erotica. It's a wild time. They're loosely based on Disney characters, except not really. So a worthy opponent is Tinkerbell and Hook, and it was fun. Like, it was a good time. There seemed to be actual stakes in that one, which was a good time. Beast, it was a throuple. Again, a good time. But I don't think I've got anything else to add. I'll read the next ones. It's a series I plan on continuing, but I don't read erotica for the erotica element of it. I read it because it's easy. Again, I'm wondering if that's irony. I don't know. There is a bumblebee in here somewhere. I can hear it. It's that really aggressive buzz, and I can't see it, but I can hear it. Next, Amari and the Night Brothers. It feels weird. It feels weird to go from talking about erotica to talking about a middle grade. However, that was basically my reading in May, was like kids book porn, and I will see a therapist. I'm really sorry. Anyway, back to Amari and the Night Brothers. Gave it 4 stars, I think, 3.5 to 4. It was very predictable. It was a classic adventure book. I did enjoy it. There were a lot of things that as I was reading it, I had issues with. I felt like because it was very paint by numbers, that dragged a little bit. But I will say, I'm not going to say a bad word about it other than those bad words I've just said, because when I was reading it, I was stuck in traffic, and I was driving from Wales all the way down to Folkestone, which is, or was, a 7.5 hour drive because of the M25 being what it is. So I did the entire audiobook on that journey whilst crawling, and I think that is part of the reason it dragged so much, is I could pay full attention to it, but also was already in a foul fucking mood, so I don't think that helped. I am excited about the sequel. I'm excited for what has been set up, but if you haven't read it, just skip to the next book, because I will spoil a little bit. I knew it was going to be the bestie. I knew it was going to be the bestie. The moment he showed her that little book with all the bad spells in it, I knew it would be him. That wasn't a surprise at all, and it was disappointing that it wasn't a surprise because I saw it coming a fucking mile away, and that made me sad that I saw it coming, and that was an issue for me. Every time there was a kind of red herring type moment, I just wasn't brought in enough. And I know the main argument against me being a negative Nancy is the fact it's written for kids, right? So like there is meant to be that stuff in that they can then work out later. And for people that don't read enough middle grades, I would absolutely recommend it. I can absolutely see why it was BookTube's champion for last year. It's a banging fucking book. But it just wasn't enough. There wasn't enough for me. It took too long to get there. It didn't actually go into what they're learning very much. It felt like it was all very rushed, and there were just things I wanted more. But I'm hoping that because it's a series, I will get those things more and will enjoy the sequel, which is coming out in like, it's either coming out in August or September, I think. But I'll be getting the hardback so it can go with my swanky copy. Not giving this up for anyone because it's shiny. But anyway, yeah, enjoyed it. Not my favourite. Okay. Next we have Interview with a Vampire. Right, this was a Lamentable Library book. It's short. No chapters. No chapters. It just goes on forever, and it is just a bunch of really pretentious men talking to other really pretentious men. And I read this expecting it to be sexy, for it to be, you know, nouveau and like new vampires and like I don't know what I was expecting. I guess I was expecting what Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt kind of set me up to expect, which is Lestat to be sexy but weird because it's Tom Cruise, and for Louis to be miserable, which he was, but then it's from Louis' perspective, so that wasn't really ideal. And I felt sorry for Claudia. I did feel sorry for Claudia. I felt sorry for her more in the book than I did in the film, because the way Louis talks about her is so weird, because I get that she's like 300 years old or whatever by the end, and like she is basically an adult in a child's body, but sometimes he talks to her like they're fuck buddies, and other times he talks to her like their parent and like child, and I just it was weird. It was so weird, and I didn't like that, and I couldn't really get past that. And Louis was just a drip, and like when you've got a perspective and it's solely that perspective, and it's just. And I get the whole metaphor is depression, right? I get there's like all this stuff and talking about despair and, you know, his gay vampire boyfriend leaving him twice. I don't know, something weird happened there. But I just, oh God, I just didn't care. I didn't care. So I have notes and stuff. If there is a Lamentable Library Live for this one, you can bet your bottom dollar I will go into every issue that I have with this. But I'm unhauling this copy. I had this and Queen of the Damned and Vampire Lestat. I've chucked both the other two. They are not for me, and I'm hauling this one too, because the moment I get shot of this I can put something else on my TBR, and I would rather read anything any day of the week than reread this. It's not happening. So shit, it was just boring. It was so boring. The audiobook didn't save it either, and I really feel sorry for books where the audiobook doesn't help, like getting through it isn't enough, you know. The Hollow Places. Okay, this is this was the book that started my start to finish sprints lives, which are going to become more regular. Basically, this is about a young woman who has just found out that has just got divorced and has moved in with her uncle, and her uncle has an injury, so he goes off to hospital and she has to look after his creepy museum whilst he's away. And whilst he's away, creepy things start to happen, and basically this box of crap has arrived. Stemming from that box of crap arriving, this portal into another universe opens up. But there are creepy things in this universe, and they are trying to eat her, and they are trying to get into her universe. And I tell you what, it fucked me up, because I was like, she's home, she's safe, and there's still 200 pages to go. Like, it was so well done. As a horror, I really, really enjoyed it. And obviously when I'm trying to force myself to read a book all day, it has to be good, it has to keep my interest, and this absolutely nailed it. I really like the characters. She makes her like a friend of the guy who runs the coffee shop next door, who is definitely queer coded, like he's a real good time. And I really like the uncle, who is very compassionate and very considerate. I liked her, and there's this really great scene, and I don't feel like this is spoilery, because I feel like you know that once she's been through all this shit, talking to her ex-husband is not going to be the issue it was at the start of the book, where her ex-husband is like, oh, like, I'm really sorry I cheated on you, and she's like, mate, I literally couldn't give less of a shit. And in her head you're like, oh, these things are trying to kill us, you do you, bud. Like, it's just this whole thing. It's so funny and so well done, and I really liked that kind of jovial banter style of horror. I really enjoyed it. It was a real good laugh. So there we go. Right, okay, well that's, you know, it's not the biggest pile of wrapped up books ever, even though there are a couple of audiobooks that I've mentioned previously. But for the most part, 3 of these are still available via Waypoint. So having heard what I thought about them, feel free to go and treat yourself to that, because it supports me and my content. Other than that, please let me know in the comments down below what book you really enjoyed in June. And if you just want to let me know you were here, how about a little butterfly emoji, because there's like cute little butterflies on that, to show that you were here. And other than that, Have a nice day.